The glass lobby of Aurora Tower gleamed under spotlights transformed for tonight's product launch. Executives in tailored suits mingled with investors, champagne flutes catching the light as deals were made in hushed conversations. Vivian Vale, the young CEO in a fitted white dress, stepped off the elevator, her confident stride drawing all eyes in the room. Four men broke away from different corners of the lobby, their movements too synchronized to be coincidence. They converged on her path with practiced precision as one whispered, "Come with us." At the end of the hallway, a janitor pushed his mop cart with methodical care. Noah Hale didn't shout warnings or rush forward. He simply set down his yellow wet floor sign at a precise angle and adjusted the blue band on his wrist. "You guys planning to slip and fall? Or planning to commit a crime?" His voice carried just enough to reach them calm and measured. The biggest man turned, irritation flashing across his features. "Get lost, trash cleaner. This doesn't concern you." The mop handle snapped up in a precise arc. 3 moves, 4 joint locks, 1 bucket of water cutting off their escape route. 30 seconds later, 4 men lay sprawled on the marble floor secured with zip ties from Noah's maintenance kit. Vivian stood frozen, mascara-rimmed eyes wide with shock. She had no idea who this janitor really was. Noah Hale lived in the shadows of other people's success. At 42, he was the guy who cleaned up after everyone else went home. Night shift maintenance at Aurora Tower, mopping floors and emptying trash cans while the city's power players slept. Single dad to 8-year-old Lily since his wife died in a car accident 3 years ago. The work paid enough to keep them afloat barely. More importantly, the night schedule meant he could walk Lily to school every morning and pick her up every afternoon. Morning light filtered through worn curtains as Noah prepared breakfast in their modest apartment on the outskirts of industrial Pennsylvania. He winced, stretching his shoulder where one of last night's attackers had landed a glancing blow. The bruise would be easy enough to hide from Lily. His daughter didn't need to know about the danger. She'd already lost enough in her young life. "Daddy, my bike chain keeps falling off." Lilel appeared in the kitchen doorway, still in pajamas with planets and stars, holding her pink bicycle helmet. Noah set down the spatula beside the sizzling eggs. "Let's take a look after breakfast. I think we can fix that without a trip to the bike shop." 20 minutes later, he knelt beside the overturned bicycle on their small balcony. "See how the derailleur is bent here? That's why your chain slips when you shift gears." He guided Lily's small hand to feel the misaligned metal. "Hand me that adjustable wrench, the silver one with the moving jaw." Lily picked the correct tool from his battered toolbox, watching intently as he made precise adjustments. Her eyes, so like Sarah's, followed his every move. "How do you know how to fix everything, Daddy?" Noah's chest tightened at the simple question. If only he could fix what mattered most, the hole in their lives where Sarah should be. "Not everything, sweetheart, just machines. Machines make sense. If something's broken, there's always a reason and usually a way to repair it. Like my bracelet for you." Lily dug into her pocket and pulled out a blue elastic band with carefully etched letters. "I made it in art class. It says, 'Breathe. When you get scared, Daddy, touch it and count to 4. It helps me with the dark thoughts." Noah swallowed hard as he slipped the bracelet onto his wrist. "It's perfect lily pad. I'll wear it every day." The apartment felt too quiet after Lily left for school with the neighbor's daughter. Noah moved through his morning routine with mechanical precision. Coffee, shower, bills sorted into piles of urgent and can wait until next paycheck. His fingers brushed across Sarah's photograph on the dresser, her smile frozen in time, taken 6 months before the accident. The memory rose unbidden. Rain-slicked roads, headlights in the wrong lane, his frantic call to her unanswered. By the time he reached the hospital, she was already gone. All his training in emergency response and all his knowledge of how to protect people, none of it had saved the person who mattered most. Noah pushed the thoughts away as he gathered his maintenance uniform. He'd walked away from his security career the day after Sarah's funeral when he realized that being present for Lily meant more than any professional achievement. The night janitor position at Aurora Tower had been the only job that allowed him to maintain their fragile new routine. Aurora Tower loomed over the city skyline, 63 floors of glass and steel, where the region's most powerful businesses operated. Noah entered through the service entrance, nodding to Miguel, the day shift supervisor nearing retirement. "Rough night ahead, amigo." Miguel handed over the maintenance log. "Big product launch happening. The Queen herself will be there." Queen Noah checked the supply inventory while they talked, noting they were low on industrial cleaner. Miss Vale, CEO. Miguel rolled his eyes. Already called twice about making sure the lobby looks impeccable, like we don't know how to do our jobs. Noah clocked in and changed into his gray coveralls, the fabric worn thin at the elbows. The maintenance office buzzed with day shift workers finishing their rounds, sharing stories about demanding executives and impossible cleanup requests. These were the invisible people who kept Aurora Tower functioning. Plumbers, electricians, custodians, speaking a language of practical knowledge that most of the building's occupants would never understand. Hey, Noah. Daryl, the aging security guard, poked his head into the break room. Heads up, they cut our security detail for tonight. Budget constraints. The contempt in his voice was unmistakable. Just me and the new kid watching monitors for a lobby full of millionaires. Noah frowned. That's 3 security cuts this quarter. Tell me about it. Miss Vale says we're an unnecessary expense. Meanwhile, she's got a new sports car in the executive garage. Daryl shook his head. Just keep your eyes open tonight. Something doesn't feel right. As the day shift cleared out, Noah pushed his cart through empty corridors, mentally mapping his cleaning route. The rhythmic squeak of the wheels echoed in the silence. His invisibility had become a second skin in this place. Executives would walk past him, continuing confidential conversations as if he were part of the furniture. Administrative assistants would complain about their bosses within earshot, never considering that he might be listening. The evening cleaning routine had its own particular choreography. Empty the executive office trash cans, vacuum conference rooms, polish brass fixtures in the bathrooms. Each task completed with the same methodical care he once brought to security protocols. Noah had learned that people revealed themselves in what they discarded and how they treated spaces they thought no one important would see. At 7 p.m., Noah took his dinner break in the deserted cafeteria, eating the sandwich he'd packed while reviewing notes in a worn leather journal. Not the maintenance log that Miguel and the others used. This was his personal record. For 6 weeks, he'd been documenting every security vulnerability at Aurora Tower. Camera blind spots near the executive elevator. Malfunctioning door sensors on emergency exits. Inconsistent ID verification at security checkpoints. The knowledge sat heavy in his chest. Aurora Systems wasn't just cutting corners on janitorial staff. They were creating dangerous gaps in protection that could put everyone in the building at risk. Noah had submitted 3 official maintenance requests highlighting security concerns. All 3 had been marked non-essential and filed away. His phone vibrated with a text from Mrs. Chen next door confirming Lily was safe at their apartment for the evening. Noah texted back his thanks, then opened his photo gallery to look at the picture Lily had sent him during her lunch break. A crayon drawing of a man in janitor coveralls holding a mop like a knight's lance, protecting a woman in a white dress. Daddy's a hero janitor, she'd written across the top in careful letters. If only she knew how right she might be. Noah tucked the phone away as the service elevator doors opened on the lobby level. The transformation was striking. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over marble floors he'd polished yesterday. Catering staff arranged elegant displays of hors d'oeuvres while tech crews made final adjustments to the presentation area. Tonight was Aurora Systems' biggest product launch of the year, some revolutionary software platform that promised to transform corporate data management. Watch where you put your junk. A sharp-dressed event coordinator knocked over Noah's tool caddy with her rolling case, sending screwdrivers and pliers scattering across the floor. Coffee from her expensive thermos splashed across Noah's uniform, leaving a dark stain across his chest. This is a multi-million-dollar event, not a repair shop. Noah knelt silently to gather his tools, aware of the snickers from nearby staff. The humiliation was familiar, expected. In their eyes, he existed only as an extension of his function, the cleaning guy, the maintenance man not worth acknowledging as a complete human being. Maybe next time, keep your maintenance stuff out of the way, someone called out as Noah retreated to his cart. He touched the blue bracelet on his wrist and counted to 4, letting the anger dissipate. The insults didn't matter. What mattered was paying attention to details others missed. Like the 4 men who'd used the freight elevator 3 times this week without proper access cards. Noah had noticed them first on Monday vendor badges that didn't match any scheduled service appointments. Then again on Wednesday, mapping camera blind spots around emergency exit 23B. Tonight, they were back positioned in different corners of the lobby, but moving with the synchronized awareness of a team. Their shoes all bore the same distinctive paint stain pattern, the kind that came from walking through the same workspace. Most telling was the single earpiece each wore, communication devices disguised as ordinary wireless earbuds. Keeping his head down, Noah adjusted his cleaning route to maintain sight lines on all four men. He prepared his workspace differently tonight, positioned his mop bucket near the intersection where the floor had a slight incline, perfect for creating controlled spills if needed. Switched to microfiber mop heads that wouldn't scatter water unpredictably. Placed his yellow wet floor sign at angles that could serve as shields or barriers. Just routine maintenance preparations anyone watching would assume. But Noah remembered his training from years at the Port Authority. The best defensive positions look completely ordinary until they become necessary. The lobby filled with guests as 8 p.m. approached. Investors in expensive suits, tech journalists with recording equipment, VIP clients escorted to reserved seating near the presentation stage. Noah pushed his cart to the far wall, establishing a position with clear views of all entrances and exits. His eyes tracked the four suspicious men as they established their perimeter, each taking position near a different access point. The pattern was textbook. Establish control of movement paths, identify target approach vectors, coordinate on synchronized interception. Noah had seen the same formation during Port Authority training exercises used to isolate and extract high-value targets from crowded environments. This wasn't random crime. This was a coordinated operation with specific objectives. Noah's hand moved to his pocket where he'd stored plastic zip ties from the maintenance closet. Not for electrical work tonight, for flexible restraints that could immobilize someone without causing permanent injury. Looking sharp tonight, trash man. The youngest security guard, Kevin, barely old enough to drink, walked past with a smirk. Try not to mop anybody important, okay? Noah nodded without comment. Kevin didn't know he'd left his post at the west entrance unmonitored for 8 minutes while flirting with a caterer. Another security of vulnerability to add to the growing list. The elevator chimed at 8:30 p.m. precisely. Conversation hushed as Vivian Vale stepped into the lobby, radiant in her white dress, moving toward the presentation area where hundreds waited to hear about Aurora's latest innovation. She walked with the confidence of someone who believed the world was designed to accommodate her ambitions. At 32, she was one of the youngest CEOs of a major tech company with the ruthless efficiency to match her vision. Noah watched the four men begin moving, two converging from different positions with practiced precision. He touched the blue bracelet, counted to 4, and reached for his mop handle. Some nights cleaning up meant more than just mopping floors. The Aurora Systems product launch presentation unfolded with choreographed perfection. Vivian Vale commanded the stage, her voice carrying through the sound system as she described the revolutionary aspects of their new data platform. The audience responded with appropriate gasps and applause at each calculated revelation. Behind her massive screens displayed sleek graphics of the software's capabilities. This isn't just an upgrade to existing systems, Vivian gestured to the displays. This is a complete paradigm shift in how corporations manage their most valuable asset information. Noah maintained his position near the service corridor mop bucket, a position precisely where the marble flooring created a subtle depression. From this vantage point, he could track all four suspicious men without drawing attention to himself. The largest had stationed himself near the main elevator. Another monitored the front entrance. The third covered the side exit to the parking garage. The fourth, the one Noah assessed as the leader, maintained position near emergency exit 23B, the one with the camera blind spot. Their tactical positioning confirmed his worst fears. This wasn't a random theft attempt. They were setting up for a controlled extraction, most likely targeting Vivian herself. Noah cataloged potential defensive scenarios, calculating angles and timing. If they moved during the presentation, the crowd would provide both obstacle and cover. If they waited until after, when Vivian would likely head to the private reception on the 32nd floor, the reduced witnesses would make their job easier, but limit their escape options. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I invite you all to experience Aurora's vision of the future firsthand. Vivian concluded her presentation to enthusiastic applause, stepping away from the podium toward the waiting demonstration stations. The four men adjusted their positions, subtly maintaining their coverage, while drawing closer to their target. Noah's muscles tensed as he recognized the preparation signals. The leader touched his earpiece twice, then nodded toward exit 23B. They were moving. Noah pushed his cart into position between two marble columns, creating a choke point in the likely interception path. He arranged his supplies with deliberate care. Yellow caution sign angled outward mop handle, positioned it for quick access bucket, placed where the slight slope would direct water flow predictably if upended. Vivian finished speaking with a group of investors and began walking toward the elevator, probably heading to the private reception upstairs. The four men converged on her path with practiced precision, closing off escape routes while maintaining the appearance of casual movement. To the casual observer, it looked like natural crowd flow, people shifting positions, conversations adjusting. But Noah saw the coordination, the way they cut off angles without appearing to surround her, the subtle hand signal that triggered their final approach. The practiced movement toward emergency exit 23B, where cameras couldn't see and help couldn't arrive quickly. Miss Vale, the largest man, said, his voice polite but firm, "Could we speak with you privately?" Vivian's confidence faltered. These weren't guests or investors. Something in their positioning, their synchronized timing, set off alarm bells she didn't fully understand. "I'm sorry, but I need to get to the reception. It'll just take a moment." The man's hand moved toward her elbow, not quite touching, but close enough to guide her movement. "This way." That's when Noah stepped forward, pushing his mop bucket directly into their path. The yellow wet floor sign scraped against the marble as he positioned it like a barrier. His movements were unhurried, methodical, the actions of a maintenance worker doing his job. "Excuse me, gentlemen," he said, calmly touching the blue bracelet on his wrist. "You planning to slip and fall or planning to commit a crime?" The lead man turned, irritation flashing across his features. "Get lost, trash cleaner. This doesn't concern you." "Actually, it does." Noah's voice remained steady, conversational. "See, when someone gets hurt in this building, I'm the one who has to clean up the blood. And I just mopped this floor." The four men exchanged glances. This wasn't part of their plan. A janitor wasn't supposed to interfere with a professional operation. "Walk away, old man," the second attacker warned. "You don't want this problem." Noah tilted his head slightly, studying them with the calm assessment of someone who'd seen violence before. Four guys, coordinated positioning, earpiece communication, tactical footwear. "You're not improvising. This is planned." He reached into his maintenance cart, withdrew a handful of zip ties. "Which means you've made mistakes I can document." That's when they realized the janitor wasn't backing down. The lead man lunged first, going for a quick takedown that would clear the obstacle and get back to their primary mission. Noah was ready. The mop handle came up in a precise arc, the wooden shaft catching the attacker's wrist at the exact pressure point between radius and ulna bones. Not hard enough to break anything, just enough to make his hand go completely numb and drop whatever he'd been reaching for. Before the man could react, Noah pivoted the mop like a lever, using the wet floor to his advantage. The attacker's feet went out from under him, and he crashed into the yellow wet floor sign, which promptly folded around him like a makeshift restraint. The second man tried to circle around, pulling out a folding knife. Noah spun the mop bucket with his foot, sending soapy water across the marble in a controlled splash. The attacker stepped directly into the slick patch, his tactical boots losing traction on the suddenly treacherous surface. As the man windmilled his arms for balance, Noah wrapped the microfiber mop head around his knife hand, using the absorbent fabric to control the weapon, while applying pressure to the wrist joint. A quick twist, and the knife clattered across the floor. The zip tie went around the man's thumb and index finger in one smooth motion, a restraint technique that used minimal force but created maximum control. 2 down. 30 seconds elapsed. The third attacker had been reaching for something in his jacket, pepper spray, taser, something to even the odds against this unexpectedly capable janitor. Noah flipped the mop bucket completely over, sending a wave of sudsy water directly into the man's face. Soap and industrial cleaner created immediate eye irritation and disorientation. While the attacker stumbled blindly, Noah used the mop handle like a staff, pressing it across the man's throat, just firmly enough to restrict airflow without causing permanent damage. Another zip tie secured his hands to the bucket handle, creating an improvised restraint that kept him immobilized but uninjured. The fourth man had been trying to grab Vivian during the chaos, pushing her toward the emergency exit while his partners dealt with the interference. Noah threw the yellow wet floor sign like a frisbee, wedging it perfectly into the doorframe, just as the attacker tried to force the exit open. The metal sign jammed the mechanism, preventing the door from closing completely. Using the mop handle as a lever, Noah applied pressure to the man's shoulder blade, driving him down and forward until he was face first against the jammed door. The final zip tie went around his wrist and the door handle, securing him in place. Total elapsed time, 47 seconds. Four attackers neutralized using nothing but janitorial supplies and techniques designed for crowd control rather than combat. The lobby had gone completely silent. Every conversation had stopped. Every phone was recording. Vivian stood frozen against the elevator, staring at the man who just dismantled a kidnapping attempt with cleaning equipment. "Security to the main lobby," Noah called out calmly, not even breathing hard. "Four individuals attempting abduction. Also call 911. We'll need police and paramedics." A reporter from the financial news network pushed forward, microphone extended. "Sir, that was incredible. Who are you? What's your background?" Noah began collecting his scattered cleaning supplies, his movements returning to the methodical routine of a maintenance worker, just doing his job, just doing what needs to be done. But those moves, that training. "You're not really a janitor, are you?" That's when Noah reached into his coveralls and pulled out something that made the entire room go quiet. A silver badge with federal credentials. "Noah Hale, court-appointed corporate integrity monitor," he said simply. "I've been conducting undercover assessment of Aurora Systems' security protocols for the past 6 weeks." The revelation hit like a physical blow. Vivian's face went white. You're the monitor, the one the bankruptcy court assigned to oversee our compliance. The same one whose security recommendations you rejected as unnecessary expenses," Noah confirmed. "The same recommendations that would have prevented tonight's incident." The crowd of investors, reporters, and staff stared in stunned silence as the pieces fell into place. The janitor, who'd been invisible, dismissed, treated like furniture. He'd been documenting everything. Every cost-cutting measure that compromised safety, every protocol violation, every moment when profit was prioritized over people. And now he'd just proven with mop handles and zip ties exactly what happened when security became an afterthought. Police sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. The four attackers remained secured to various pieces of cleaning equipment, looking nothing like the professional kidnappers they'd been minutes earlier. And Vivian Vale, the powerful CEO who'd spent the evening commanding attention and admiration, stood small and silent, finally understanding that the most important person in her building had been the one she'd never bothered to see. Dawn broke over the city as Noah trudged up the stairs to his apartment, exhaustion settling deep in his bones. The night had stretched into early morning with police statements, evidence processing, and preliminary federal briefings. His phone battery had died hours ago. He could only hope Mrs. Chen had received his message about being late. He unlocked the door as quietly as possible, not wanting to wake Lily. The apartment was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and the muffled sounds of traffic beginning outside. Noah set his keys on the counter, noticing Mrs. Chen's neat handwriting on a note by the microwave. Lily had dinner and finished homework. She wanted to wait up, but fell asleep around 9:30. Everything on the news about Aurora Tower. "Are you okay?" The news. Noah hadn't considered how quickly the story would spread. He switched on the small television in the kitchen, volume low, and found it already tuned to the morning news channel. Our top story: single dad janitor takes down 4 men with a mop. The CEO froze when she learned who he was. Footage captured on dozens of phones shows maintenance worker Noah Hale, who was revealed to be an undercover federal monitor, neutralizing 4 attackers at Aurora Systems' product launch last night. Noah switched off the TV, stomach sinking. His cover was completely blown. The quiet life he'd built for Lily and himself, gone in 47 seconds of viral video. "Daddy?" He turned to find Lily in the doorway, still in her star-patterned pajamas, clutching her stuffed elephant. Her eyes were wide with an expression Noah couldn't quite read. "Hey, Lily Pad, I'm sorry I was late getting home. Mrs. Chen showed me the video on her phone." Lily's voice was small. "You stopped those bad men." Noah knelt down to her eye level, uncertain how to explain what she'd seen. "I did what I needed to do to keep people safe. That's what I used to do before Mom. With your mop." Her serious expression suddenly broke into a wide smile. Just like in my drawing, you're a real hero, Janitor? Noah pulled her into a tight hug, relief washing through him. I was just doing my job, sweetheart. Jamie's mom called you a badass on the phone with Mrs. Chen. Lily pulled back, looking earnestly into his face. Is that like a superhero? Noah choked back a surprised laugh. It's not a word you should repeat at school, but I'm no superhero. I just know how to use what's available to solve problems. Can you teach me to stop bad guys with cleaning stuff? Noah's heart constricted at the innocent question. How about I teach you how to stay safe instead? That's more important than fighting. Lily nodded solemnly, then brightened. I'm going to draw a new picture with the bad guys all tied up with your mop. As Lily scampered off to find her crayons, Noah's phone rang, the landline they kept for emergencies. He answered warily, expecting reporters who had somehow found his number. Mr. Hale, Judge Eleanor Campbell. The voice was crisp, authoritative. I've been following the developments at Aurora Tower. Impressive work. Noah straightened instinctively. Thank you, Your Honor. I was planning to submit my final report today. I think the evidence speaks for itself, don't you? We'll need you to testify, of course, but your documentation has already provided sufficient grounds for regulatory action against Aurora Systems. A pounding at the door interrupted Noah's response. He peered through the peephole to see 3 news vans double-parked on the street below and a cluster of reporters in the hallway. Your Honor, I apologize, but I may need to call you back. The press has found my address. Judge Campbell's voice sharpened. That's unacceptable. I'll send a federal marshal to ensure your privacy is protected. In the meantime, do not speak to anyone without legal representation present. The pounding continued as Noah hung up. Lily appeared in the hallway, eyes wide with fear now. Daddy, who's at the door? Just some people who want to ask questions about last night. Nothing to worry about. Noah forced a reassuring smile. How about we have breakfast at the diner on the corner? We can go out the back way. 30 minutes later, they sat in a booth at Joe's Diner where the waitress had seated them in a corner away from windows. The small television above the counter played footage from Aurora Tower on a loop, but the volume was muted and most of the early morning customers were too focused on their coffee to pay attention. My daddy's famous, Lily announced proudly to their waitress, a grandmotherly woman named Doris, who had been serving them Saturday breakfast for 3 years. Is he now? Doris slid extra whipped cream onto Lily's pancakes with a wink. He stopped bad guys with his mop. It's on TV. Doris's eyes widened as she glanced between Lily and Noah. Wait, that was you, the janitor from Aurora Tower. Noah nodded uncomfortably. It's been a long night. Doris lowered her voice. My son works maintenance over at the Westfield building. Says they cut corners on security too. About time someone stood up for the invisible workers. She squeezed Noah's shoulder. Your breakfast is on the house today. Noah's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Mr. Hale Miguel Sanchez from Aurora Tower. They're not letting us in the building today. Federal investigation. The crew wants to know if you need anything. We have your back. Something warm unfurled in Noah's chest. He'd spent 3 years being invisible at Aurora Tower, yet somehow had built connections he hadn't fully recognized. The bell above the diner door jingled as 2 men in suits entered. Noah tensed, reaching for Lily's hand across the table, but relaxed when one flashed a federal marshal's badge discreetly. Mr. Hale, Judge Campbell sent us. There's a significant media presence at your apartment building. We've arranged temporary accommodation where you and your daughter will have privacy. Noah looked at Lily, who was happily demolishing her pancake mountain, oblivious to how completely their lives had just changed. What happens now? He asked the marshal quietly. The investigation into Aurora Systems will proceed. Your testimony will be crucial. As for your identity, I'm afraid that cat is out of the bag. Judge Campbell mentioned you might consider a more permanent position with the federal monitoring program given your unique skill set. Noah's hand went to the blue bracelet on his wrist. His fingers traced the letters Lily had carved. Breathe, count to 4. I don't worry about making big decisions on no sleep, he told the marshal. First priority is making sure my daughter feels safe. Everything else can wait. The marshal nodded respectfully. Of course, the car is waiting whenever you're ready. As they finished breakfast, Noah's phone continued buzzing with notifications. News alerts about Aurora Systems' stock plummeting. Messages from former Port Authority colleagues who recognized him on the news. A terse email from Vivian Vale's assistant requesting a meeting. The world was suddenly paying attention to the man they'd never seen before. The invisible had become visible. The question Noah couldn't answer yet was whether that visibility would help or harm the careful life he'd built from the ruins of his grief. Lily looked up from her pancakes whipped cream, dotting her nose. Are we in trouble, Daddy? Noah reached across the table to wipe her nose with a napkin. No lily pad, but things might be different for a while. How would you feel about staying somewhere new for a few days? Like vacation. Her eyes lit up. Something like that. Noah managed a smile. I don't know exactly what happens next, but we'll figure it out together. That's what we do, right? Fix things, Lily nodded solemnly, like machines. Noah's throat tightened. Some things can't be fixed, sweetheart, but we can always build something new from what remains. Outside the diner window, dark clouds gathered as the morning progressed. Rain began to spatter against the glass, creating rivulets that distorted the view of the street beyond. Noah watched the patterns form and dissolve, thinking about how quickly life could change, how security could become vulnerability in an instant. The blue bracelet felt warm against his skin as he took Lily's hand and stood to meet whatever came next. Some nights cleaning up meant more than just mopping floors. And some days being a father meant showing your child how to face uncertainty with courage. Thunder rumbled in the distance as they walked toward the waiting federal car. The storm was coming, but Noah Hale had weathered worse. The aftermath was swift and brutal. Single dad Janitor takes down 4 kidnappers with a mop. CEO froze when she learned his real identity, became the most watched video of the week. The footage captured from multiple angles by investor phones showed every moment the coordinated attack, the mop handle takedowns, the zip tie restraints, and finally the federal badge reveal. Online comments ranged from admiring to merciless. When you try to kidnap the CEO but accidentally expose that you hired the worst security company in history. Plot twist: the janitor was actually the federal monitor documenting how badly you run your business. Imagine being saved by the employee you treated like furniture. Within hours, Aurora Systems was facing a federal investigation. Noah's report detailed months of safety violations, security negligence, and cost-cutting measures that had endangered employees and clients. Vivian's termination was announced before the police had finished processing the crime scene. 3 days later, Noah sat in an anonymous hotel suite provided by the federal marshals watching Lily color at the small dining table. They had been moved twice since leaving the diner, each accommodation more secure than the last, as media interest in the mop night, as one tabloid had dubbed him, intensified. His phone rang. Barking, one of the few numbers that could reach his temporary line. Hello, Miguel. How are things at the tower? Total chaos, amigo. Miguel's voice sounded tired but satisfied. The feds have taken over the building. Board of directors held an emergency meeting at midnight. They're cleaning house, starting with Miss Vale. I didn't mean for anyone to lose their jobs, Noah said quietly, watching Lily concentrate on her drawing. I just wanted them to fix the security issues. Are you kidding? That woman treated us like garbage for years. Cut our staff in half, doubled our workload, and then complained when things weren't perfect. Miguel's voice lowered. The guys and I have been wondering, did you really come to us just for the monitor job, or was the janitor part real too? Noah considered the question. Both. I needed night work that would let me be there for Lily during the day. The court appointment came after I'd already been working there for months. They approached me because I already had access and the right background. Well, whatever happens next, you showed them what we've been saying for years. Cutting corners on maintenance and security eventually costs more than doing it right. After hanging up, Noah checked his email on the secure laptop the marshals had provided. 37 interview requests from news organizations, a formal summons to testify before the regulatory committee, a message from Judge Campbell about a permanent position with the federal monitoring program, and an email from Vivian Vale herself. Noah's finger hovered over the delete button, then paused. He opened it. Mr. Hale, I've been directed by my attorneys not to contact you directly, but some things need to be said regardless of legal advice. I dismissed you. Worse, I never truly saw you. The recommendations you submitted through proper channels, I personally marked them unnecessary expenses. That decision nearly cost lives, including my own. I don't expect forgiveness, but I wanted you to know that I understand now what my arrogance has cost. Vivian Vale. Noah closed the email without responding. Apologies were easy after consequences arrived. The question was whether she'd truly learned or was simply managing the fallout. A gentle knock at the door sent Noah into immediate alert. He moved Lily behind him as he approached the peephole. "Mr. Hale, it's Marshall Davidson. Judge Campbell is here to see you." Noah checked the security protocols they had established before opening the door. Judge Eleanor Campbell was exactly as he'd expected from their phone conversations. Mid-60s silver hair in a precise bob, the kind of posture that came from decades of commanding courtrooms. "Mr. Hale, thank you for seeing me without notice." She extended her hand. "I thought this conversation would be better in person." Lily peeked out from behind Noah's legs. "Are you a real judge with a hammer?" Judge Campbell's stern expression softened. "It's called a gavel, young lady. And yes, I'm a real judge. You must be Lily. Your father has told me about your excellent artwork." Lily beamed, running to retrieve her latest drawing from the table. "This is Daddy, stopping the bad guys, see the mop." The judge examined the crayon illustration with appropriate seriousness. "Very accurate. You captured the action perfectly." She looked up at Noah. "Artistic talent runs in the family, I see." Noah ushered the judge to the small sitting area while Lily returned to her coloring. "I assume this isn't a social call, Your Honor?" "No." Judge Campbell set her briefcase on the coffee table. "The Aurora Systems investigation has expanded significantly. The 4 men you apprehended were hired by a competitor to abduct Miss Vale and force her to transfer intellectual property rights. They'd spent weeks studying Aurora Tower's security weaknesses." "Exactly the weaknesses I documented in my reports," Noah noted. "Precisely, which makes your evidence central to multiple federal cases." The judge leaned forward. "The board of directors is attempting to distance themselves from Miss Vale's decisions, claiming they were unaware of the security compromises." "That's not accurate." Noah retrieved his worn leather journal from his bag. "I have documentation of board meetings where security recommendations were presented and dismissed as budget concerns." They knew. Judge Campbell's eyes narrowed with satisfaction. "This is why I wanted you for this assignment, Mr. Hale. Your attention to detail is exceptional." She opened her briefcase, removing an official-looking folder. "Which brings me to why I'm here. I'd like to offer you a permanent position as a corporate integrity monitor." Noah glanced at Lily, still absorbed in her drawing. "I appreciate the offer, Your Honor, but my situation is complicated. I need work that allows me to be present for my daughter." "I understand completely. This position would provide flexibility for family obligations, significantly better compensation, and the option to select assignments that fit your schedule." The judge slid the folder across the table. "You have a unique perspective, Mr. Hale. You see buildings through both security and maintenance lenses. More importantly, you understand the human elements that most assessors miss." Noah opened the folder, scanning the terms of employment. The salary was nearly triple what he made as a janitor. "Take time to consider it," Judge Campbell said, rising. "The Aurora investigation will require your testimony regardless, but I hope you'll consider continuing this work. We need more people who understand that true security isn't just about expensive systems. It's about valuing every person who keeps a building functioning." After the judge departed, Noah sat beside Lily at the table. "What are you drawing now, Lily Pad?" She held up her latest creation, a courtroom scene with a small figure in a black robe wielding a gavel. "That's the judge lady. She seems nice. Is she going to help us?" Noah studied his daughter's face, searching for signs of distress from their sudden displacement. Instead, he found only curiosity and resilience. "I think she might be. How would you feel if Daddy did different work, not cleaning at night anymore?" Lily considered this seriously. "Would you still take me to school and pick me up?" "That would be my first requirement for any job." "And would people still be mean to you like at Aurora Tower?" Noah's chest tightened at the question. He hadn't realized Lily was aware of how he'd been treated. "How did you know about that?" "I heard you telling Mrs. Chen once that people didn't see you, they just saw your mop." Lily frowned. "That's not right. You're the smartest daddy in the world." Noah pulled her into a tight hug, blinking back sudden moisture in his eyes. "I think any new job would be different that way. People might actually listen when I talk. Good. Lily nodded decisively against his shoulder. Then you should do it. But can you still fix things I like when you fix things? Always lily pad. That's what daddies do. Later that night, after Lily had fallen asleep in the hotel bedroom, Noah sat by the window watching rain lash against the glass. His reflection stared back at him. No longer in Janitor's coveralls, just a tired man in a plain t-shirt trying to navigate a future that had changed course without warning. His phone buzzed with a text from Daryl, the security guard from Aurora Tower. They cleaned out your locker today. I saved your stuff. Also, you're all over the news, man. The guys in maintenance are saying you're going to write a book and get rich. True, Noah smiled slightly as he typed his response. No books. No getting rich. Just trying to keep Lily safe from all the attention. Daryl replied immediately. We miss you around here. Place isn't the same. Whatever you decide to do next, you've got friends at Aurora Tower. Noah set down the phone and touched the blue bracelet on his wrist. Friends. It hadn't occurred to him that in 3 years of working nights, keeping to himself, focused only on doing his job and getting home to Lily, he'd actually built connections. The invisible had become visible in more ways than one. Outside, lightning flashed briefly, illuminating the city skyline. Somewhere out there, Vivian Vale was facing the consequences of treating people as disposable. Somewhere, the board of directors was scrambling to distance themselves from decisions that they'd approved. Somewhere, other corporations were suddenly reviewing their security protocols, wondering if they had been making the same dangerous mistakes. And in countless buildings across the city, maintenance workers were going about their nightly routines, pushing mop buckets down empty corridors, changing light bulbs, fixing broken door hinges, invisible but essential. Perhaps now, because of what happened at Aurora Tower, someone might actually see them. Noah opened Judge Campbell's folder again, reading the job description more carefully. Corporate Integrity Monitor, using his unique combination of security training and maintenance experience to ensure companies weren't cutting corners that put people at risk. The opportunity to make invisible workers' concerns visible to those in power. It wouldn't bring Sarah back. It wouldn't undo the years of being overlooked and dismissed. But it might mean that Lily would grow up in a world where people who fix things were valued just as much as those who built them. Noah closed the folder and turned back to the storm-lashed window. Whatever he decided it would be, with Lily's needs at the center, in his experience, the most important maintenance wasn't done on buildings, but on the relationships that made life worth living. He touched the blue bracelet once more, breathed, counted to 4. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new decisions. But for tonight, in this quiet moment between storms, Noah Hale allowed himself to feel something he hadn't experienced in 3 years. Hope. 1 week after the Aurora Tower incident, Noah stood at the back of a packed federal courtroom, watching Vivian Vale take the witness stand. The former CEO had traded her designer dresses for a conservative navy suit, her confident demeanor replaced by careful humility. Cameras weren't allowed inside, but sketch artists captured her downcast eyes and stiff posture as she raised her right hand to be sworn in. Ms. Vale, please describe Aurora Systems' security protocols prior to the incident, the federal prosecutor requested. Noah listened as Vivian detailed the cost-cutting measures she'd implemented: reduced security staff, eliminated after-hours patrols, minimal camera coverage. Each admission confirmed what Noah had documented during his 6 weeks as an undercover monitor. The board members seated in the front row shifted uncomfortably as their former CEO implicated them in these decisions. And were you aware that these reductions created significant vulnerabilities? The prosecutor continued. Vivian hesitated, her eyes briefly meeting Noah's across the courtroom. I received reports highlighting security concerns, yes. I designated them non-essential expenditures. Reports submitted by whom? By the court-appointed monitor Noah Hale. Vivian's voice had lost its boardroom authority. He submitted them through official maintenance channels as part of his cover. The prosecutor approached the bench with a familiar leather journal. Noah's meticulous records of every security lapse, every dismissed warning, every vulnerability he'd identified. Your Honor, we'd like to enter this documentation as evidence. Noah slipped out during the brief recess, avoiding the cluster of reporters waiting outside. Judge Campbell had arranged a private exit through the building's service corridors, another instance where knowing the invisible pathways proved valuable. The federal marshal assigned as his security detail followed at a discreet distance, scanning for threats or unwanted press attention. His phone vibrated with a text from Mrs. Chen. Lily's school called. Some reporters tried to interview her at recess. Principal moved her to the office. She's okay, but scared. Noah's stomach clenched. He'd specifically chosen a hotel on the opposite side of the city from Lily's school, trying to keep her routine as normal as possible, despite the disruption to their lives. He'd spoken with the principal, explained this situation. Apparently that wasn't enough. "I need to get to my daughter's school," he told the marshal. "Right now." 20 minutes later, Noah knelt before Lily in the principal's office, examining her face for signs of distress. "Are you okay, Lilypad? What happened?" "Some people with cameras came to the fence during recess," Lily said, her small fingers fidgeting with her backpack straps. "They called my name and asked if my daddy was the mop hero. Miss Patterson brought me inside." Principal Warner, a stern woman with kind eyes, added, "We've increased supervision on the playground and notified all staff. No unauthorized adults will have access to Lily." She lowered her voice. "Mr. Hale, this may continue as long as the case remains in the news. Have you considered alternative arrangements?" Noah nodded grimly. "I'm working on something more permanent." He squeezed Lily's hand. "How would you feel about finishing the school year with online classes just temporarily?" Lily's face fell. "But what about the science fair and Zoe's birthday party?" The innocent questions pierced Noah's heart. His 8-year-old shouldn't have to worry about reporters or missing normal childhood experiences. This was exactly what he'd feared, that his visibility would disrupt the stable life he'd built for Lily after losing Sarah. "I'll figure something out, sweetheart, I promise." That evening, Noah sat on the edge of Lily's bed in their hotel suite, reading her favorite story about a knight who solved problems with cleverness instead of weapons. She'd finally fallen asleep clutching her stuffed elephant, but Noah remained watching the gentle rise and fall of her chest, how quickly security could transform into vulnerability. One viral video had stripped away the protective anonymity they'd relied on for 3 years. A soft knock at the door drew his attention. He carefully extracted himself from the bed and checked the security peephole. Miguel Sanchez stood in the hallway carrying a cardboard box. "Miguel," Noah opened the door, surprised. "How did you find us?" The older janitor grinned. "I didn't. Called that judge lady, told her I had your stuff from the locker. She arranged it." He hefted the box. "Thought you might need some of your things. Plus the guys wanted me to check on you." Noah ushered him into the suite's small living area. The guys, the maintenance crew, Daryl from security, even Jenna from night reception. Miguel set down the box on the coffee table. "You've got fans now, amigo. Whole crew watched you testify on the news yesterday." Noah winced. "I was hoping to keep a lower profile." "Too late for that." Miguel chuckled, then grew serious. "How's your little one handling all this?" "Reporters showed up at her school today." Noah ran a hand through his hair. "I'm considering pulling her out, maybe leaving the city until things calm down." Miguel nodded sagely. "My cousin has a cabin near Lake Erie. Very private. Good fishing. Might be a place for you and Lily to catch your breath." He slid a key across the table. "It's yours if you need it. No strings." Noah stared at the key, throat tight with unexpected emotion. "Why are you helping me, Miguel? I lied to you, to everyone at Aurora Tower. I wasn't just a janitor. You were exactly what that place needed, someone who saw the problems and tried to fix them." Miguel shrugged. "Besides, you did the night shift for 3 years. Nobody does that unless they've got a good reason. Taking care of your daughter was always real. The rest just details." After Miguel left, Noah examined the contents of the box, his spare uniform, a few tools, the drawings Lily had sent him that he'd taped inside his locker door. At the bottom, wrapped in protective plastic, was a framed photograph of the maintenance crew from last year's holiday party. Noah standing awkwardly at the edge of the group, half smiling at the camera. He hadn't even remembered the photo being taken. Yet here he was, part of something he hadn't recognized until it was gone. His phone rang. "My name." Judge Campbell's number. "Mr. Hale, I've been informed there was an incident at your daughter's school today." Her voice carried the precise cadence of someone accustomed to being obeyed. "I've arranged for additional security measures, but this highlights an ongoing concern." Noah sighed, sinking onto the couch. I'm considering withdrawing Lily from school temporarily. Maybe leaving the area until the media interest dies down. Understandable, but perhaps premature. Papers rustled on the judge's end of the line. The Aurora Systems case will likely continue for months. You can't put your lives on hold indefinitely. What do you suggest? Accept the federal position I offered. It comes with resources for precisely these situations, including security protocols and, if necessary, relocation assistance. Judge Campbell paused. However, I believe there's a better solution than disappearing. The public interest could be directed more productively. Noah frowned. What does that mean? There's significant corporate interest in your story, Mr. Hale. Not just the dramatic elements, but the underlying issues of workplace safety, corporate accountability, and the value of maintenance expertise. You have an opportunity to shape that narrative. I'm not interested in being a public figure, Your Honor. I just want to protect my daughter and do meaningful work. Those goals aren't mutually exclusive. Judge Campbell's tone softened slightly. Think about it. The preliminary hearing continues tomorrow at 9. The prosecution has requested you be present for the technical testimony. After hanging up, Noah stood by the window overlooking the city lights. The blue bracelet felt warm against his wrist as he weighed his options. Disappearing might protect Lily temporarily, but it wouldn't solve the fundamental problem. Their lives had changed irrevocably the moment he decided to intervene at Aurora Tower. What would Sarah have advised? She'd always been the practical one in their relationship, able to cut through emotional complications to find the simplest solution. You can't control what happens, she used to tell him, only how you respond to it. Noah looked back at the photograph of the maintenance crew at his own half-smile as he stood on the periphery, always present but never fully engaged, always watching but rarely participating. The safety of invisibility had become a habit extending beyond his work. Maybe it was time to try a different approach. The next morning, Noah entered the federal courthouse through the main entrance rather than the service door. Reporters swarmed immediately, microphones thrust toward him as camera flashes created a disorienting strobe effect. Mr. Hale, how does it feel to become famous for being invisible? Was your daughter placed at risk by your undercover work? Will you be filing a lawsuit against Aurora Systems for workplace discrimination? Instead of pushing past them as he'd done previously, Noah stopped. The crowd quieted, sensing a potential statement. Noah looked directly into the nearest camera. I was never invisible. I was overlooked. There's a difference. His voice carried across the suddenly silent press corps. Maintenance workers, janitors, security guards. They're essential to every building's operation and safety. Aurora Tower's situation wasn't unique. It's happening in corporate settings nationwide where cost-cutting measures endanger employees and visitors alike. A reporter called out, "What about your famous takedown, 4 men with just a mop? How did you—" I use standard nonviolent restraint techniques adapted to available tools, Noah interrupted. Nothing special, just practical knowledge applied correctly. The real story isn't about one incident. It's about what happens when companies devalue the people who keep their operations running. With that, Noah continued into the courthouse, aware he'd just deliberately stepped into the spotlight he'd been avoiding. The marshals flanking him exchanged surprised glances. Inside the courtroom was once again filled to capacity. Noah took his seat behind the prosecution table just as the board members from Aurora Systems were being sworn in collectively. Their expensive suits and carefully neutral expressions couldn't hide their discomfort as the prosecutor approached with Noah's maintenance logs. Mr. Harmon, as head of the executive committee, did you personally review the security recommendations submitted by the maintenance department? Richard Harmon, a silver-haired man with the weathered complexion of someone who spent weekends on golf courses, cleared his throat. Those reports would typically be handled by operations management, not directly by the board. The prosecutor referenced a specific page. Yet this email chain shows you specifically discussing unnecessary security upgrades with Miss Vale and authorizing her to minimize extraneous expenditures in that area. Is that correct? Harmon shifted uncomfortably. The board's responsibility is financial oversight. We relied on Miss Vale's assessment of operational priorities. So you were aware of the recommendations, but chose to support Miss Vale's decision to ignore them. Objection leading the witness, the defense attorney interjected. Sustained, the judge ruled. Rephrase. The questioning continued systematically, establishing the chain of decisions that had created Aurora Tower's security vulnerabilities. Noah listened, noting how the board members kept referring to industry standard practices and reasonable cost management, sanitized terms for cutting corners at the expense of safety. During a break in testimony, Noah slipped out to check his phone. Mrs. Chen had sent a photo of Lily at their kitchen table, working on her online school assignments. She looked happy enough, but Noah knew his daughter. The slight furrow in her brow revealed her confusion about why her routine had changed so abruptly. A text from Miguel followed Cabin is ready whenever you need it, but check the news first. Puzzled, Noah found a quiet alcove and pulled up the local news site on his phone. The headline made his stomach drop. Aurora Systems whistleblower speaks out. I was never invisible, just overlooked. His impromptu statement outside the courthouse had already been clipped, shared, and transformed into a rallying cry. Comments poured in from maintenance workers, security personnel, and service staff across the country, sharing similar experiences of being devalued and ignored. One comment in particular caught his attention. My husband has been a building engineer for 30 years. Yesterday, his company installed new security cameras in all stairwells after seeing the Aurora Tower story. Noah Hale just made thousands of invisible workers safer by speaking up. Noah stared at the screen, a complex emotion rising in his chest. He'd never intended to become a spokesman for overlooked workers. He'd simply been doing his job, first as a janitor, then as a federal monitor. Yet somehow his actions had triggered something larger than himself. Back in the courtroom, the prosecution called their final witness of the day, Daryl Johnson, Aurora Towers head of security for the past 18 years. Mr. Johnson, what happened when you raised security concerns with management? Daryl's usually jovial face was solemn beneath his gray hair. I submitted 17 formal security upgrade requests in the past 3 years. Each one was denied as non-essential expenditure. When I persisted, Ms. Vale suggested I was overreacting and not aligned with company priorities. And the night of the incident, how many security personnel were on duty? Just 2, myself and Kevin Mills, who'd been on the bomb less than 6 months. Daryl's expression hardened. Before Ms. Vale's cuts, we would have had 6 guards for an event of that size. In your professional opinion, would the recommended security measures have prevented the kidnapping attempt? Absolutely. Daryl's certainty filled the courtroom. Proper camera coverage would have identified the suspects before they entered. Adequate staffing would have noticed their suspicious behavior. Access control upgrades would have prevented them from using the freight elevator repeatedly without authorization. He looked directly at the board members. People could have died because saving money was more important than saving lives. The testimony concluded for the day, and Noah found Judge Campbell waiting for him outside the courtroom. Your statement to the press this morning was unexpected, she observed, leading him toward her private office. It seemed time to address the larger issues, Noah replied. My daughter had reporters at her school. If I'm going to be visible anyway, it should be for something meaningful. Judge Campbell's normally stern expression softened slightly. You're beginning to understand the potential influence you have. Good. She opened her office door, revealing 2 unexpected visitors waiting inside. Richard Harmon, the Aurora Systems board chairman, stood as they entered. Beside him sat a man Noah didn't recognize. Younger, with the polished appearance of someone accustomed to high-stakes negotiations. Mr. Hale, allow me to introduce Marcus Weldon, CEO of Integrity Dynamics, Judge Campbell said. They specialize in corporate security assessment and implementation. Noah shook hands warily, unsure why the board chairman of the company he'd just testified against was meeting with him privately. Harmon spoke first, his corporate smoothness unable to completely mask his discomfort. Mr. Hale, today's testimony made it abundantly clear that Aurora Systems failed its employees, its shareholders, and the public trust. The board has voted unanimously to implement comprehensive security reforms immediately. That's good to hear, Noah replied cautiously. More than that, Weldon interjected. They've contracted Integrity Dynamics to oversee the implementation, and I'd like to offer you a senior consultant position on the project. Noah blinked in surprise. You want to hire me? Your combination of practical maintenance knowledge and security expertise is exactly what's needed, Weldon explained. Plus, your recent visibility gives you significant influence in shaping corporate policies. You mean my recent visibility as the janitor who exposed Aurora's negligence? Noah looked pointedly at Harmon. Isn't this just damage control? Harmon's expression tightened. Call it what you will. The fact remains that Aurora Systems needs someone who understands both the executive and maintenance perspectives, someone the workforce will trust to implement real change. Judge Campbell, who had been observing silently, interjected. I should mention that Mr. Weldon's company partners with the federal monitoring program on certain projects. This wouldn't conflict with the position I've offered you. Noah studied the three faces watching him expectantly. He'd spent years being invisible, doing essential work without recognition. Now suddenly his visibility made him valuable to the very power structures that had previously ignored him. I need to consider my daughter's well-being first, he said finally. The media attention has already disrupted her life significantly. Weldon nodded. I understand completely. Our offer includes resources for managing that aspect as well. Private schooling options, secured housing, media relations support. We protect our people, Mr. Hale. Give me 24 hours to think about it, Noah replied, his hand going to the blue bracelet on his wrist. Outside the courthouse, Noah found Miguel waiting beside a maintenance van emblazoned with Aurora Towers logo. Thought you might want to ride without the press, Circus, the older janitor called, gesturing to the reporters still camped on the courthouse steps. Noah climbed into the passenger seat gratefully. Thanks. Not sure I'm ready for more questions right now. Miguel pulled into traffic, navigating away from the downtown area. Heard an interesting rumor today. Board's talking about creating a new position, Director of Facility Safety and Integrity. Word is they want to offer it to you. Noah raised an eyebrow. News travels fast. Maintenance guys always know what's happening before management does, Miguel chuckled. So you're gonna take it? I don't know. It would mean stepping fully into the spotlight, becoming the face of whatever changes they implement. Noah stared out the window as the city slid past. I'm not sure that's what's best for Lily. Can I offer some abuelo wisdom? Miguel's voice softened. Kids don't need perfect situations. They need to see their parents standing for something meaningful. Your little girl already draws you as a hero with a mop. Imagine how she'll see you if you help fix what's broken. They drove in companionable silence until reaching the hotel. As Noah reached for the door handle, Miguel added, whatever you decide, the crew has your back, even if you go all corporate on us. Noah smiled. I don't think there's much danger of that. Upstairs, Noah found Lily and Mrs. Chen building an elaborate fort from hotel bed sheets and desk chairs. Lily's face lit up when she saw him. Daddy, Mrs. Chen helped me with school online. It was weird. But okay. Did you catch more bad guys today? Noah laughed, ducking to enter the fort. No bad guy catching today, just boring grown-up talk in a courtroom. About the people who didn't listen to you about the security stuff, Lily asked, arranging her stuffed animals in a semicircle for what appeared to be a fort-based classroom. Noah paused, surprised by her understanding. Yes, actually. How did you know about that? Mrs. Chen showed me the video where you said people didn't see the important workers. Lily adjusted her elephant teacher at the front of the stuffed animal class. Like when Jamie's mom doesn't thank the lunch ladies at school. It's not nice. From the simplicity of a child's perspective, the entire Aurora Systems case distilled to its essence. People not acknowledging the contributions of others. Noah watched Lily organizing her toys, seeing Sarah's determined focus in the set of her small jaw. After dinner and Lily's bedtime, Noah sat on the hotel balcony staring at the city lights while turning his phone over in his hands. 2 job offers in one day, the federal position from Judge Campbell or the corporate role with Integrity Dynamics. Both would utilize his unique combination of skills. Both would keep him visible rather than anonymous. He dialed the number Miguel had given him earlier. I'd like to talk about that cabin near Lake Erie, he said when the call connected. Not to hide, but to think. Is it available this weekend? Friday afternoon found Noah and Lily on a wooden dock extending into Lake Erie, fishing poles propped against the railing. The cabin behind them was rustic but comfortable. 2 bedrooms, a stone fireplace, and blessed isolation from media attention. No television, spotty cell service, and not a reporter in sight. Daddy, I think my worm is sleeping, Lily announced, peering at her still fishing line. Noah checked her hook and smiled. Fish are pretty smart lily pad. Sometimes they wait until we're not paying attention before they bite. Like those bad men at your work, they thought no one was watching them. Noah's hand stilled on the fishing line. Something like that. They didn't expect the janitor to be paying attention. Lily kicked her feet, watching ripples spread across the water. Are we hiding from the camera people here? Not hiding, just taking some time to think about what comes next. Noah considered how to explain the situation in terms an 8-year-old would understand. I have to make a big decision, and I wanted us to be somewhere quiet while I figure it out. About your new job, Mrs. Chen said you might not be a janitor anymore. Noah nodded. That's part of it. I've been offered 2 different jobs. Both would let me use what I know about keeping buildings safe, but they'd be very different from working at night with a mop. Lily considered this seriously. Would you wear a suit like on Parents' Day at school? Probably sometimes, yes. Would people listen when you tell them how to fix things? Noah smiled at her perceptiveness. That's the idea. Then you should do it. Lily's certainty was absolute, but only if I still get to see you every day. That's my first rule for any job, Noah assured her. Being your dad comes before everything else. As the sunset painted the lake in gold and crimson, Noah found clarity emerging from the day's simple rhythms. The invisibility he'd cultivated after Sarah's death had been as much about his own grief as it was about practicality. He'd used the night shift janitor role to hide from life while telling himself he was protecting Lily. But his daughter deserved to see him engaged with the world, not just passing through it like a shadow. And maybe, just maybe, his unique perspective could create meaningful change for the maintenance workers who remained overlooked in buildings across the country. That evening, after Lily had fallen asleep, Noah sat on the cabin's porch with his phone and made 3 calls. First, to Judge Campbell, I'd like to accept the federal position with conditions. I need a flexible schedule that allows me to be present for Lily, and I want to focus specifically on workplace safety compliance. Next, to Marcus Weldon. I'm not interested in becoming an Aurora Systems employee, but I'd consider consulting with Integrity Dynamics on implementing security reforms, particularly those that integrate maintenance staff perspectives into security protocols. Finally, to Miguel, is the maintenance crew available for a meeting on Monday? I have some ideas I'd like their input on before presenting them to management. Each conversation built upon the previous one, creating a framework for what would come next. By the time Noah hung up from the final call, he had the outlines of a plan that would use his newfound visibility as leverage for systemic change. The blue bracelet on his wrist caught the porch light as he gazed out at the darkened lake. I don't worry about problems, he murmured to himself. I fix them. Monday morning arrived with unexpected clarity. Noah stood in the Aurora Tower lobby, no longer in janitor's coveralls, but dressed in a simple charcoal suit. The blue bracelet remained visible at his wrist as he signed the visitor log, his name generating a ripple of recognition from security staff who had previously looked through him. Mr. Hale, Kevin, the young security guard who once mocked him, straightened to attention. They're waiting for you in the executive conference room on 32. Thank you, Kevin. Noah accepted the visitor badge, then paused. How's the new security implementation coming along? Kevin's expression brightened. Much better. We've got proper staffing levels now, and they've upgraded the camera systems. Even installed those key card protocols you recommended for the service elevators. Good to hear. Noah glanced around the lobby, noting the visible security improvements already in place. Is Miguel's team here yet? Yes, sir. They're waiting in the maintenance office. Said you wanted to meet with them first. Noah nodded and headed not toward the executive elevator, but to the service corridor, a choice that wasn't lost on the watching security team. Some habits remained even in new circumstances. The maintenance office fell silent as Noah entered. Miguel Darrell and 6 other members of the night crew sat around the break table, still in their work uniforms after finishing the overnight shift. Looking sharp amigo, Miguel grinned, standing to shake Noah's hand. Very federal agent. It's just a suit, Noah replied self-consciously, adjusting his tie. But thanks for meeting me before you head home. This won't take long. We saw you on the news, Jenna, the night receptionist said. Speaking up for maintenance workers, that took guts. Noah set his briefcase on the table. That's actually why I wanted to talk to you first. The board is meeting today to approve comprehensive security reforms. Before I go up there, I wanted your input. He opened the briefcase and spread out several diagrams of the building's security systems. These are the proposed changes. New camera placements, access restrictions, emergency response protocols. But what's missing is the practical knowledge you all have about how the building actually functions. For the next 30 minutes, Noah listened as the maintenance crew identified potential problems with the proposed systems. Camera angles that would be blocked by cleaning equipment, access protocols that would make emergency repairs difficult, security measures that failed to account for how the building was actually used after business hours. This is exactly what I needed, Noah said, making notes on the diagrams. The executives see security as something separate from maintenance. They don't understand that you can't secure a building without considering how it's maintained. Daryl, who had been quiet throughout the discussion, finally spoke. You know they're just doing this for show, right, to avoid lawsuits and bad publicity. Maybe, Noah acknowledged, but their motivations matter less than the results. If the changes make workers safer and prevent another incident like what happened to Miss Vale, does it matter why they're implementing them? It matters if they revert to old habits once the spotlight moves on, Daryl countered. Noah nodded. That's why I've accepted a position with the Federal Monitoring Program. Part of my job will be ensuring compliance continues long after the publicity fades. Miguel clapped Noah on the shoulder. From invisible to indispensable. Not bad for a night shift janitor. I was never just a janitor, Noah replied, gathering his notes. None of us are just anything. That's the point. The executive conference room on the 32nd floor presented a stark contrast to the maintenance office. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered panoramic city views. Elegant chairs surrounded a polished table where Aurora Systems board members sat alongside executives from Integrity Dynamics. At the head of the table, Richard Harmon rose as Noah entered. Mr. Hale, thank you for joining us. We were just reviewing the security implementation timeline. Noah took the offered seat, conscious of how differently he was being treated compared to his years working in the building. Before we proceed, I'd like to discuss some modifications to the proposed systems based on input from the maintenance staff. Several board members exchanged glances. The maintenance staff, one asked with poorly disguised skepticism. Yes. Noah spread his annotated diagrams across the table. The people who know this building most intimately have identified several practical issues with the proposed camera placements and access controls. He outlined the concerns methodically, watching comprehension dawn on some faces while others remained dismissive. Marcus Weldon from Integrity Dynamics leaned forward with interest. These are excellent observations. Exactly the kind of practical knowledge that traditional security assessments often miss. Richard Harmon studied Noah with newfound respect. You consulted with them before meeting with us. Of course, Noah replied simply. That's why you wanted me involved, isn't it? To bridge the gap between executive decisions and practical implementation. The meeting continued for 2 hours with Noah navigating between technical security discussions and advocacy for maintenance perspectives. By the conclusion, a revised implementation plan had been approved, one that incorporated both state-of-the-art security systems and practical considerations for the building's day-to-day operations. As the board members filed out, Harmon remained behind with Noah and Weldon. Mr. Hale, I owe you an apology, the board chairman said, his corporate polish momentarily set aside. Not just for how you were treated as a maintenance employee, but for dismissing your security recommendations. Noah studied the older man, looking for insincerity, but finding what appeared to be genuine remorse. You know, I wasn't the only one whose input was ignored. There are Daryls and Miguels in every building with knowledge that could prevent disasters if anyone bothered to listen. Harmon nodded slowly. A lesson we've learned at considerable cost, which brings me to a proposition. He glanced at Weldon, who nodded encouragingly. Aurora Systems would like to establish a foundation focused on workplace safety and maintenance staff development. We'd like you to help design it. Noah raised an eyebrow. A foundation with scholarship opportunities for children of maintenance workers, Weldon added. Educational programs that combine practical building management with security protocols. Advocacy for improved working conditions across the industry. The offer was unexpected. Noah's hand went to the blue bracelet on his wrist as he considered the possibilities. I'd want full autonomy in designing the programs, and involvement from actual maintenance staff, not just executives deciding what's best for them. Absolutely, Harmon agreed quickly. We've learned our lesson about ignoring practical expertise. And I'd want a scholarship program specifically for single parents pursuing education while supporting their families, Noah added, thinking of how different his options might have been after Sarah's death if such support had existed. Consider it done. Harmon extended his hand. Will you help us turn this crisis into something positive? Noah shook the offered hand, still somewhat amazed by how dramatically his life had changed in less than 2 weeks. I'll help design it, but the foundation should be named after the maintenance teams, not me. As he left the Aurora Tower that afternoon, Noah passed through the lobby where he'd once pushed a mop cart in anonymity. The security guards nodded respectfully. Executives who had previously looked through him now made eye contact. The invisible had become visible in ways he never anticipated. Outside, a small group of reporters had gathered, apparently tipped off about his meeting. This time, instead of avoiding them, Noah approached deliberately. Mr. Hale, can you comment on Aurora Systems' security reforms? Are you taking a position with the company? What message do you have for other corporate whistleblowers? Noah raised a hand for quiet. I'm not a whistleblower. I'm a father who took a night job to be present for his daughter during the day. I'm a former security trainer who recognized dangerous vulnerabilities. I'm a maintenance worker who used practical knowledge to prevent harm. He paused, finding the words that felt most true. We all have multiple identities and capabilities. The problem begins when we define people solely by their most visible function. A reporter called out, "What's next for the Mop Night of Aurora Tower?" Noah smiled slightly at the ridiculous nickname. What's next is making sure what happened here leads to systemic change. Aurora Systems is establishing a foundation to support maintenance staff education and advocate for workplace safety. I'll be helping design it while also working with the federal monitoring program to ensure corporate compliance. And your famous mop techniques, another reporter asked, half joking. I don't worry about problems, Noah replied, repeating the phrase that had become something of a personal mantra. I fix them. Sometimes that requires a mop. Sometimes it requires policy change. The tool matters less than the intention behind it. As the reporter scribbled notes, Noah checked his watch. If you'll excuse me, I need to pick up my daughter from school. Walking away from Aurora Tower toward the waiting federal car, Noah felt a weight lifting from his shoulders. The past years of invisibility had served their purpose, allowing him to be present for Lily while processing his grief for Sarah. But invisibility had also become a kind of hiding, a way to avoid fully engaging with life. His phone buzzed with a text from Judge Campbell. Foundation proposal approved by Federal Oversight Committee. You'll have full autonomy as requested. Welcome to your new visibility, Mr. Hale. Noah smiled as he slipped the phone back into his pocket. Visibility brought its own challenges, but also opportunities he hadn't imagined possible 2 weeks ago. The blue bracelet caught the afternoon sunlight as he opened the car door, a reminder that breathing through difficult moments created space for unexpected possibilities. Some problems couldn't be fixed with mops or security protocols or foundation initiatives. Sarah's absence remained a permanent hole in their lives, but Noah was beginning to understand that moving forward didn't require forgetting the past, only finding new ways to honor it through how he lived now. The car pulled away from the curb, heading toward Lily's school. Whatever came next, Noah would face it directly, no longer hidden in the shadows of other people's success, but standing in the light of his own purpose. 3 weeks later, Noah stood at a podium in Aurora Tower's renovated lobby, watching as the sheet was pulled away from the memorial wall. Maintenance staff from buildings across the city had gathered for the unveiling. Custodians, security guards, engineers, electricians, and plumbers, standing alongside executives and media in an unprecedented mixing of worlds typically kept separate. At the center of the wall, mounted in a place of honor, was Lily's original drawing, the janitor with the mop protecting the woman in white dress. Around it, dozens of similar artworks from children whose parents worked in maintenance and security services created a colorful testament to the invisible heroes who kept workplaces functioning safely. The brass plaque beneath read, "Heroes hide in plain sight, clean our floors, secure our buildings, and keep us safe," dedicated to everyone who works to maintain what others take for granted. Noah adjusted his tie nervously as all eyes turned to him for remarks. Public speaking had never been his strength. He'd always preferred working quietly behind the scenes. But visibility brought new responsibilities, including serving as the voice for those still working in the shadows. 3 months ago, I stood in this lobby with a mop and a bucket watching four men attempt to abduct the CEO of Aurora Systems. His voice carried clearly through the sound system. What happened next has been sensationalized as some kind of action movie moment. Single dad janitor takes down four kidnappers with a mop. But the real story isn't about one incident. It's about what happens when we overlook the essential workers who keep our buildings safe. Noah gestured to the gathered maintenance staff. Every person wearing a uniform today possesses knowledge that could prevent disasters if anyone bothered to listen. They notice loose handrails before someone falls. They spot water damage before ceilings collapse. They recognize security vulnerabilities before they're exploited. He reached into his pocket and removed three simple objects, placing them carefully on the podium. This blue bracelet made by my daughter reminded me to stay calm under pressure. He set it gently on the microphone stand. These worn maintenance gloves represent the dignity of labor often overlooked by those who benefit from it. He laid them beside the bracelet, and this yellow wet floor sign served as both shield and warning. Protection that should have been heeded before someone got hurt. Noah looked out at the assembled crowd, no longer uncomfortable with their attention. The Aurora Foundation for Workplace Safety officially launches today with three key initiatives. First, a scholarship program for children of maintenance workers and single parents pursuing education. Second, a training curriculum that integrates practical building management with security protocols. And third, advocacy program to improve working conditions and recognition for maintenance staff nationwide. Richard Harmon stepped forward to join Noah at the podium. On behalf of Aurora Systems Board of Directors, I'm pleased to announce initial funding of $20 million for the Foundation's programs. He turned to Noah. And we've unanimously voted to name Mr. Hale as the Foundation's first executive director should he accept the position. The announcement caught Noah by surprise. He'd agreed to help design the programs, but leadership of the Foundation was unexpected. His eyes found Lily in the front row sitting between Miguel and Judge Campbell, her face glowing with pride as she gave him a thumbs up. I'd be honored, Noah said after a moment's consideration, on condition that the Foundation's advisory board includes equal representation from maintenance staff and executives. True safety comes from collaboration across all levels. The formal ceremony concluded, but the lobby remained filled with conversations that would have been impossible a month earlier. Maintenance workers and executives discussing building operations as equal security staff, explaining protocols to interested board members, children proudly showing parents where their artwork had been included on the wall. Noah found Lily examining the memorial display with fierce concentration. What do you think, Lily Pad? My drawing looks small up there with all the others, she observed. But it started something important. Noah knelt beside her. Sometimes the smallest things make the biggest difference. Lily nodded solemnly. Like your bracelet, it's just string and beads, but it helped you be brave. Exactly. Noah squeezed her hand. How do you feel about me running this foundation? It would be different from being a janitor or a federal monitor. Would you still help fix things? Lily asked, her priorities clear. That's exactly what the foundation is about. Fixing problems that have been ignored for too long. Then you should do it. Lily's certainty was absolute. And I can make you a new bracelet that says hero instead of breathe. Noah's throat tightened with emotion as he pulled her into a hug. You don't need to do that. You've already made me a hero by being my daughter. Later that evening, as they walked together through the park near their new apartment, secured housing provided by the federal program, Noah reflected on how dramatically their lives had changed in just 1 month. The media frenzy had mostly subsided. Lily had enrolled in a school with better security protocols and smaller class sizes. And Noah had found purpose in a role that bridged his past experience with his newfound visibility. Look, Daddy, Lily pointed to a maintenance worker emptying trash cans along the park pathway. He's like you used to be. Noah nodded, noticing how the worker moved efficiently, nearly invisible to the evening joggers and dog walkers enjoying the park. We should thank him for keeping the park clean. They approached the worker, who looked up in surprise as Noah extended his hand. Just wanted to say thanks for maintaining the park. It makes a difference. The man's weathered face broke into an unexpected smile. Appreciate that. Most people don't notice unless something's wrong. I notice, Noah replied simply. I used to do similar work. Recognition dawned in the worker's eyes. Wait, are you that janitor from the news, the one who stopped those kidnappers with a mop? Noah nodded, somewhat embarrassed by the recognition. That's me. Man, you've got no idea what you started. The worker straightened with pride. My supervisor actually asked for my input on park security last week. First time in 12 years anyone wanted my opinion. He gestured toward the playground where children climbed on brightly colored equipment. We got better lighting installed near the play areas because of it. Safer for the kids now. As they continued their walk, Lily skipping ahead to examine a butterfly, Noah felt a profound sense of connection to the countless maintenance workers continuing their essential tasks throughout the city. His unexpected visibility had created ripples affecting lives he would never meet in buildings he would never enter. The blue bracelet caught the evening light as he watched his daughter, the constant center around which his changing world revolved. Whatever challenges his new role brought, whatever complications came with visibility rather than anonymity, the core remained unchanged. He was Lily's father first, with all other identities secondary to that essential truth. And perhaps that was the most important lesson from the past month's transformation. We are never just one thing, janitor or executive, visible or invisible, broken or whole. The complexity of human existence resists such simple categorization, demanding instead that we recognize the multifaceted potential in ourselves and others. Noah quickened his pace to catch up with Lily, who had discovered a small maintenance issue with the playground swing. Daddy, this chain is loose. Can you fix it? He examined the swing, critically locating the problem immediately. We should tell the park maintenance office. They have the right tools to repair it properly. Or we could call that man we just met, Lily suggested. Since he works here. Noah smiled at her practical solution. Even better, because sometimes the most important tool isn't knowing how to fix something yourself. It's knowing who to ask for help. As the maintenance worker returned with his tools to address the swing, Noah felt the last pieces of his new life clicking into place. Visibility brought responsibility, but also connection. And connection, he was discovering, offered its own kind of security. One built not on cameras and access controls, but on mutual recognition of human dignity and worth. The invisible had become visible, and the world was safer because of it. 1 year after the Aurora Tower incident, Noah Hale stood before the newly installed security system at Westfield Corporate Center, methodically testing access protocols with a small team of technicians. The lobby bustled with the usual morning activity, executives arriving for early meetings, staff collecting badges at security checkpoints, maintenance workers performing their daily routines. Unlike Aurora Tower here, the security guards knew each maintenance person by name, checking in with them as valuable members of the building's protection team. System looks good, Mr. Hale, the lead technician confirmed, reviewing data on his tablet. All vulnerabilities from the initial assessment have been addressed. Noah nodded, watching a maintenance worker being consulted by security about a door sensor that had triggered an alert. The guard listened attentively as the older woman explained the mechanical issue causing the false alarm. This was the integration Noah had been implementing across 17 corporate properties in the past year. Security and maintenance working as collaborative teams rather than separate silos. Final compliance report is complete, Noah told the building manager. I'll submit it to the Federal Oversight Committee today. You're officially meeting all workplace safety standards. The manager shook Noah's hand firmly. Wouldn't have happened without the Aurora Foundation protocols. My board was skeptical about investing in maintenance staff training until they saw your presentation. Now they're true believers. Send me your quarterly safety metrics when available, Noah replied. They'll help strengthen the case for similar implementations elsewhere. As Noah gathered his materials, his phone vibrated with a calendar notification. Lily's school presentation, 1 p.m. He smiled slightly. No matter how many corporate security assessments filled his schedule, Lily's events remained his absolute priority. The new position had brought many changes to their lives, but Noah's commitment to being present for his daughter remained unwavering. Outside Westfield Center, a sleek blue sedan waited at the curb, the official vehicle for the Aurora Foundation's executive director. Noah still felt slightly uncomfortable with the trappings of his new role, but had come to accept them as necessary tools for accomplishing his mission. The foundation's work required moving between worlds, from corporate boardrooms to maintenance break rooms to federal oversight committees, and presenting the credibility each environment respected. "Where to, sir?" asked James, the foundation's driver. "Aurora Tower first. I need to review the quarterly maintenance training program." Then Lily's school by 12-30 inches, Noah instructed, settling into the back seat to review emails. The Aurora Foundation for Workplace Safety had grown exponentially in the past year. What began as a corporate atonement initiative had expanded into a nationally recognized advocacy organization with 3 core programs: workplace safety compliance consulting maintenance staff, professional development, and educational scholarships for service workers and their families. Noah had assembled a team that reflected the foundation's mission. Former maintenance workers served alongside security experts and corporate compliance officers, creating integrated approaches to workplace safety. As the car navigated morning traffic, Noah reviewed applications for the foundation's scholarship program. 20 children of maintenance workers would receive full college funding this year, including 5 from single-parent households. The program had been named in Sarah's honor, a memorial that focused on creating opportunities rather than dwelling on loss. Aurora Tower looked dramatically different than it had a year ago. The lobby that had once been the site of a kidnapping attempt now served as a model for integrated security design. Cameras covered all approach vectors without creating privacy concerns. Security staff worked from a redesigned station with clear sight lines to all entrances. Most importantly, the maintenance crew had dedicated communication channels, with security creating a collaborative safety environment rather than separate functional silos. Miguel greeted Noah at the main entrance with a broad smile and a firm handshake. The former night shift supervisor now served as Aurora Tower's facility safety coordinator, a new position created specifically to bridge maintenance operations with security protocols. "How's our training program looking this quarter?" Noah asked as they walked toward the maintenance offices. 23 new certifications completed," Miguel reported proudly. "The emergency response simulations are showing 92% effectiveness, up 12 points from last quarter." They entered the maintenance break room where a dozen workers in uniform were gathered for the morning briefing. The atmosphere shifted subtly as Noah entered. Not the discomfort of hierarchical authority, but the respectful acknowledgement of someone who had once been one of them and continued to advocate for their profession. "Mr. Hale is here to observe today's training module," Miguel announced. "As you know, Aurora Tower's protocols have become the national standard for integrated building safety. What you're learning today will likely become requirements for maintenance certification nationwide." Noah took a seat at the back of the room, deliberately positioning himself as an observer rather than the center of attention. The training session focused on identifying potential security vulnerabilities during routine maintenance operations. Exactly the knowledge that could have prevented the Aurora incident if anyone had bothered to listen to the maintenance staff's observations. As the instructor explained access control weaknesses, Noah's mind drifted momentarily to Vivian Vale. The former CEO had largely disappeared from public view after her testimony in the federal investigation. Occasional news reports mentioned her working at a smaller company in a non-executive role. Noah sometimes wondered if she had truly learned from the experience or merely suffered the consequences of being caught. After the training session, Noah met briefly with Aurora's new management team, reviewing compliance metrics and implementation timelines for the latest security protocols. The company that had once epitomized corporate negligence now served as the gold standard for workplace safety, with executives regularly consulting maintenance staff on operational decisions. "The Federal Oversight Committee is impressed with your progress," Noah informed them. "You're on track to have all compliance restrictions lifted by next quarter." The new CEO, a woman with extensive operational experience who had been promoted from within, nodded appreciatively. "The Foundation's protocols have improved more than just security. Maintenance response times are down 20%, employee satisfaction scores are up across all departments, and we've reduced operational costs despite the increased investment in safety systems." "When people feel valued, they perform better," Noah replied simply. "It's not complicated." Back in the car, Noah checked his watch, plenty of time to reach Lily's school for her presentation. At 9 years old, his daughter had adapted to their changed circumstances with remarkable resilience. The media attention had eventually faded, allowing them to establish a new normal that included a comfortable apartment in a secure building, a prestigious school with excellent programs, and Noah's more predictable schedule. Lily had thrived in the transition. Her academic performance had improved significantly, and she'd developed new interests, particularly in mechanical engineering, taking apart small appliances to understand how they worked, then reassembling them with careful precision. Noah recognized Sarah's methodical mind in their daughter's growing capabilities. The blue sedan pulled up to Westbrook Academy's elegant entrance. Unlike their previous visits to Lily's old school, there were no reporters lurking at the gates, no curious stares from other parents. The mop night story had been supplanted by newer sensations, allowing Noah and Lily to reclaim their privacy while continuing their advocacy work. In the school auditorium, parents gathered for the fourth grade special projects presentation. Noah found a seat near the front, exchanging polite nods with other parents, executives, professionals, and a few celebrities whose children attended the exclusive academy. If any recognized him as the janitor who had once dominated news cycles, they gave no indication. Lily's class filed onto the stage, each student carrying their project. Noah spotted his daughter immediately, her confident posture and serious expression so reminiscent of Sarah that his chest tightened momentarily. She wore the Navy uniform of Westbrook Academy with a small, meaningful addition. Pinned to her collar was a miniature yellow caution sign, her personal symbol connecting her to the Foundation's mission. The presentations began, each student explaining their special project in turn. When Lily's name was called, she stepped forward with a detailed model of a building security system, complete with working LED indicators in a tiny maintenance cart positioned at strategic access points. My project is called The Invisible Protectors, she began, her voice clear and strong. It shows how maintenance workers and security systems can work together to keep buildings safe. The red lights show vulnerable areas that need monitoring. The green lights show where maintenance staff have access to help protect these areas. Noah watched with quiet pride as Lily methodically explained the integrated systems approach that had become the Foundation's core methodology, translated into terms her classmates could understand, with practical demonstrations of how overlooked building staff could serve as crucial security assets. She had absorbed these concepts not from textbooks, but from dinner table conversations and weekend visits to Foundation project sites. My dad taught me that the people we don't notice are often the ones doing the most important work, Lily concluded, like maintenance workers keeping buildings safe or parents making sure kids have what they need. Sometimes heroes hide in plain sight. The applause was enthusiastic, with several parents making notes, likely executives recognizing the practical business applications of Lily's presentation. Noah remained seated as other students took their turns, his throat tight with emotion. Lily had taken their family's transformation and found her own meaning within it, neither defined by tragedy nor limited by others' expectations. After the presentations, Lily ran to him with her project carefully balanced in her hands. "Did you like it, Daddy? I used the same security layout as Aurora Tower." "It was perfect, lily pad." Noah knelt to examine the model more closely. "You even included the maintenance access routes we designed. Miss Patterson says I should consider engineering when I grow up." Lily beamed. "Or maybe being a judge like Judge Campbell. I haven't decided." "You've got plenty of time to figure it out," Noah assured her. "I'm proud of you no matter what you choose." As they walked toward the car, Noah's phone rang, Judge Campbell's office. He answered, listening intently to her assistant's message before hanging up with a troubled expression. "What's wrong, Daddy?" Lily asked, instantly attentive to his mood shift. "Nothing serious," Noah reassured her. "Judge Campbell needs to meet with me this afternoon about a case. James will take you to your piano lesson, and I'll meet you at home for dinner." Lily nodded, accepting the change in plans with the adaptability she'd developed over the past year. "Is it about Aurora Tower again?" "No, it's something different." Noah helped her into the car with her project, a new company with safety violations that need addressing. The federal courthouse hadn't changed since Noah's testimony in the Aurora Systems case. The same imposing columns, the same security checkpoints, the same hushed atmosphere of serious deliberation. But Noah himself had changed dramatically. No longer the nervous janitor thrust unexpectedly into the spotlight, but a recognized authority on corporate safety compliance, comfortable navigating legal and regulatory environments. Judge Campbell greeted him in her chambers, her silver hair now featuring more prominent streaks of white, but her posture remaining precisely upright as always. Thank you for coming on short notice, Mr. Hale. Of course, Your Honor. Noah took the offered seat. Your assistant mentioned a new case involving workplace safety violations. The judge slid a file across her desk. Meridian Technologies. They develop security systems, ironically enough. An internal whistleblower has reported systematic safety violations at their main research facility. The evidence suggests vulnerabilities similar to what you documented at Aurora Tower, but more deliberately constructed. Noah reviewed the preliminary documentation with growing concern. They're creating blind spots intentionally. Why would a security company compromise its own building? That's what concerns me. Judge Campbell's expression hardened. The whistleblower suggests these vulnerabilities are being built into the security systems they sell to other corporations, essentially creating backdoor access that their clients are unaware of. Noah looked up sharply. That's not just negligence. That's deliberate endangerment. Precisely, and it requires investigation by someone with your specific expertise. Judge Campbell leaned forward. I'd like you to conduct an undercover assessment similar to your Aurora assignment. Noah frowned, thinking of Lily. I can't return to working nights. My daughter, no need for that, the judge interrupted. Your public position with the Aurora Foundation provides perfect cover. Meridian has been attempting to secure the Foundation's endorsement for their security systems. I suggest you explore that opportunity while conducting your assessment. A different kind of undercover work, Noah mused. Visible rather than invisible. Exactly. They'll be eager to show you their operations, giving you legitimate access to areas where these vulnerabilities might be documented. Noah considered the implications. Who's behind it? The CEO? That's unclear. The whistleblower's information suggests high-level involvement but doesn't identify specific executives. Judge Campbell closed the file. Will you take the assignment? Noah thought about the presentation Lily had just given, about invisible protectors and overlooked heroes. The past year had taught him that visibility came with responsibility. His unique perspective allowed him to see what others missed, whether from a janitor's curtain or an executive's office. I'll do it, he agreed, but I want Miguel Sanchez as my technical consultant. He sees buildings the way maintenance workers do, the parts most executives never notice. Approved. Judge Campbell nodded approvingly. One more thing you should know. The preliminary investigation suggests Vivian Vale may be involved with Meridian in some capacity. Noah's expression remained neutral, though the information triggered complicated emotions. In what way? Unclear. Her name appears on some of their corporate documentation, but her role isn't specified. It could be coincidental. Or it could be the reason for my selection for this assignment, Noah noted. The judge acknowledged this with a slight nod. Your history with Miss Vale might provide additional insights, but the assignment is based primarily on your expertise. As Noah left the courthouse, he found himself processing conflicting thoughts about potentially encountering Vivian again. Their last interaction had been her brief email apology after her termination from Aurora Systems. He had never responded, believing actions mattered more than words. If she had truly learned from the experience, her subsequent choices would demonstrate that growth. If not, Noah pushed the thoughts aside as he checked his watch. He had promised Lily they would have dinner together, and that commitment took precedence over any new assignment. The Foundation work, the federal monitoring role, even this new investigation, all were important but secondary to his core identity as Lily's father. At home that evening, their apartment felt particularly peaceful. Located on the 12th floor of a secure building selected by the Federal Marshal Service, the space balanced comfort with practical safety considerations. Large windows overlooked the city skyline, while reinforced doors and security protocols ensured their privacy remained protected. Most importantly, it was close enough to Lily's school that Noah could maintain their morning routine of walking her to the entrance each day. How was piano lily pad? Noah asked as they prepared dinner together, a ritual they had maintained through all the changes in their lives. Miss Roberts says my finger positions are improving. Lily carefully measured pasta into the boiling water. I can play the whole first page of that Mozart piece now without looking at the music. That's impressive. Noah set plates on their small dining table, a weathered oak piece that had survived the move from their old apartment, one of the few physical connections to their previous life. As they ate, Lily recounted stories from school. The science experiment her class was planning, the history project about local heroes, the playground politics that seemed monumentally important in fourth grade. Noah listened attentively, treasuring these ordinary moments that grounded their extraordinary journey. Daddy, Lily set down her fork, her expression suddenly serious. Jamie at school said his mom read that you used to be a janitor before you were famous. Is that true? Noah considered his response carefully. They had discussed his previous work before, but never in terms of social status. Yes, I was a maintenance worker at Aurora Tower for 3 years after Mom died. It gave me the schedule I needed to be with you during the day. But now you run the foundation and do the federal monitoring stuff instead. That's right. Lily frowned slightly, processing this information. So you're not a janitor anymore because being famous made you too important for that job. The question caught Noah off guard with its perceptiveness. No, that's not it at all. The work I did as a maintenance person was just as important as what I do now. Different, but equally valuable. Then why did you change? Noah set down his own fork, recognizing the significance of this conversation. Because sometimes life presents opportunities to help more people. The skills I developed working in maintenance combined with my security training put me in a unique position to improve safety for maintenance workers everywhere, not just at one building. Lily considered this explanation. So it's like when I help just one friend with homework versus when I explain something to the whole class. Exactly like that, Noah smiled. But I never want you to think I stopped being a maintenance worker because it wasn't important or valuable work. Some of the best people I know still do that job every day. Like Miguel, Lily nodded, satisfied with the explanation. He's coming to our career day next month to talk about building safety. Noah's chest tightened with unexpected emotion. 3 years ago, a maintenance supervisor would never have been invited to speak at Westbrook Academy's career day alongside doctors, lawyers, and executives. The subtle shift represented exactly the kind of change the foundation had been working toward. Recognition of essential workers as professionals worthy of respect. After dinner, as Lily worked on homework at the kitchen table, Noah reviewed the Meridian Technologies file in his office. The company specialized in integrated security systems for corporate clients, exactly the kind of technology Noah had been implementing through the foundation's workplace safety programs. If they were deliberately building vulnerabilities into these systems, they weren't just endangering individual buildings. They were potentially compromising national infrastructure. Noah's phone chimed with a text from Miguel. Checked Meridian's installation specs like you asked. Found something interesting in their access control protocols. Call me. Before Noah could respond, another message arrived. This one from an unknown number. Aurora Foundation's work has impressed Meridian's board. Interested in discussing potential partnership. Vivian Vale, Director of Client Relations. Noah stared at the message, the confirmation of Judge Campbell's information sending a chill through him. Vivian had landed at Meridian Technologies, the company now under federal investigation. Was she involved in the security of vulnerabilities or merely an unwitting employee? Either way, her outreach provided the perfect cover for his investigation. He composed a carefully neutral response. The Foundation is always interested in evaluating security technologies for potential recommendation to our partner organizations. I'll have my office contact you to arrange a meeting. Setting down the phone, Noah walked to the window overlooking the city. Lights glimmered in office buildings where maintenance crews would be beginning their evening shifts, cleaning floors, checking systems, maintaining the infrastructure that allowed businesses to function. Once he had been among them, invisible but essential. Now his visibility allowed him to advocate for their recognition and safety. The blue bracelet on his wrist had been replaced with a new one Lily had made, this one reading, Hero instead of Breathe. Noah touched it reflexively, thinking about the unexpected path that had led him from night shift janitor to foundation director and federal investigator. The skills remained the same. Attention to detail, practical problem-solving, dedication to protecting others. Only the scope had changed. Behind him, Lily hummed softly as she completed her math homework, secure in the stability they had rebuilt together. Whatever challenges the Meridian investigation might bring, Noah would face them with the same methodical approach he'd once brought to maintaining Aurora Tower. Identifying problems, implementing solutions, ensuring safety for those who depended on his care. The following morning, Noah met Miguel at the foundation offices, a modern space occupying the 15th floor of a downtown building. Unlike corporate headquarters designed to impress visitors with opulence, the Aurora Foundation's offices were practical and accessible with clear safety protocols visible throughout the space. The reception area featured a wall of photographs showing maintenance staff implementing foundation safety programs across the country. Visible recognition of typically overlooked workers. "What did you find in Meridian's specs?" Noah asked as they settled in the conference room. Miguel spread technical diagrams across the table. Their access control systems include an administrative override that isn't documented in client materials. Basically, a backdoor that would allow someone with the right codes to bypass all security protocols without leaving a system trace. Noah frowned, examining the diagrams. Could it be a legitimate maintenance function? That was my first thought, Miguel agreed. But look here, the override doesn't route through normal maintenance protocols. It's completely separate, and it transmits access data to an external server. So someone could monitor when the override is used without the client's knowledge, Noah concluded, and potentially access sensitive areas in any building using Meridian systems. Exactly. Miguel pointed to a list of installations, and their client list includes government facilities, research laboratories, even some military contractors. Noah's concern deepened. How widespread is this vulnerability? Based on their published client materials, potentially hundreds of buildings nationwide. Miguel's expression was grim, including Aurora Tower's new security implementation. The revelation landed like a physical blow. After everything they had done to secure Aurora Tower, it might still be vulnerable due to deliberately concealed backdoor access. Noah's phone chimed with an email notification. Vivian Vale had arranged a meeting for the following day at Meridian Technologies headquarters to discuss potential collaboration with the Aurora Foundation. "I need you to come with me tomorrow," Noah told Miguel. "Your technical expertise will be crucial for identifying any irregularities in their systems. Plus, you've had direct experience with Vivian Vale's management approach." Miguel raised an eyebrow. "You think she's involved in this backdoor thing?" "I don't know," Noah admitted, "but her position at Meridian immediately after the Aurora scandal seems too convenient to be coincidental." That evening, Noah explained the situation to Lily in simplified terms she could understand. "I have an important meeting tomorrow that might run late. Mrs. Chen will pick you up from school and stay until I get home." Lily looked up from the small radio she was disassembling on the living room floor. "Is it about bad guys again?" Noah smiled slightly at her perception. "Not exactly, just people who might not be following the safety rules properly." Like at Aurora Tower, Lily carefully removed a circuit board, examining it with the focused attention she brought to all mechanical objects. Similar, yes. Noah watched her methodical approach to understanding how the radio worked, seeing Sarah's analytical mind in their daughter's careful movements. "But this time, I'm not going undercover as a janitor. I'm going as the foundation director." Lily nodded, processing this information. "That's good. People listen to you now." She looked up suddenly, her expression serious. "Just don't forget to wear your bracelet, for protection." Noah touched the colorful band on his wrist, a talisman connecting him to his daughter's unwavering faith in his abilities. "I never take it off, Lily Pad." Meridian Technologies headquarters occupied a gleaming glass tower in the city's financial district. Noah and Miguel arrived precisely on time for their appointment, noting the visible security measures throughout the lobby, the same systems Aurora Foundation had been considering for recommendation to their partner organizations. "Director Hale, welcome to Meridian." The receptionist's recognition was immediate. "Miss Vale is expecting you in the executive conference room, 15th floor." The elevator ride gave Noah and Miguel an opportunity to observe the building's security cameras, access points, and emergency systems. Both men had developed the habit of automatically assessing such features in any building they entered, a professional reflex developed through years of practical experience. "Standard configuration," Miguel murmured. "But look at the camera placement, subtle blind spot near the emergency exit." Noah nodded slightly. The vulnerability wasn't obvious to casual observation, but to someone with maintenance experience, it represented a significant security gap. Exactly the kind of flaw they had eliminated at Aurora Tower. The elevator doors opened onto an elegantly appointed executive floor. Vivian Vale stood waiting her appearance markedly different from their last encounter. Gone were the designer dresses and commanding presence of a CEO. Instead, she wore a conservative business suit, her previous confidence replaced with careful professionalism. "Mr. Hale, thank you for coming." Her handshake was brief, formal. "And Mr. Sanchez, I didn't expect you to join us." "Miguel is our technical compliance officer," Noah explained smoothly. "He evaluates all security systems before foundation endorsement." Something flickered across Vivian's face, concern perhaps, or calculation, before her professional mask returned. "Of course. Please follow me." The executive conference room offered panoramic city views, including a distant glimpse of Aurora Tower. The symbolism wasn't lost on Noah as they took their seats across from Vivian and Meridian's chief technology officer, a sharp-featured man introduced as Dr. Evan Reynolds. "The Aurora Foundation's endorsement would be significant for our market position," Reynolds began without preamble. "Your workplace safety protocols have become the industry standard since the incident last year." "We evaluate security systems based on comprehensive criteria," Noah replied, "including maintenance integration, access, transparency, and operational consistency. All areas where Meridian excels," Vivian interjected. "Our systems are designed with maintenance staff involvement from the beginning, a lesson I learned personally at Aurora." Noah studied her carefully, looking for signs of the dismissive executive who had once rejected his security recommendations as unnecessary expenses. Her apparent transformation seemed genuine, but something in her carefully measured enthusiasm raised his internal alarms. "We'd need to conduct a thorough technical review before considering endorsement," Miguel stated, "including system architecture, documentation, and on-site testing." Reynolds exchanged a quick glance with Vivian. "Certain aspects of our architecture are proprietary, of course, but we can arrange a demonstration of the operational systems, including administrative overrides and maintenance access protocols," Noah asked casually, watching for their reactions. The momentary tension in Vivian's posture confirmed his suspicions before she smoothly responded, "Absolutely. Full transparency is essential for building trust after previous experiences." The meeting continued for an hour with Reynolds presenting Meridian's security features while carefully avoiding technical specifics that might reveal the backdoor vulnerability Miguel had identified. Throughout the presentation, Noah maintained his role as the interested foundation director, asking appropriate questions while noting each evasion and redirection. "We'd like to see your development facility," Noah said as the formal presentation concluded. "Our endorsement process requires understanding how systems are created, not just how they function." Reynolds hesitated visibly. "Our research areas have limited access due to intellectual property concerns." "The Foundation's evaluation requires full system transparency," Noah insisted. "We can sign additional confidentiality agreements if necessary, but we can't endorse what we haven't thoroughly examined." "I'll speak to the CEO about arranging access." Vivian offered her smile, not quite reaching her eyes. "Perhaps next week." "That would be acceptable," Noah agreed, recognizing the delaying tactic but choosing not to challenge it directly. As Vivian escorted them back to the elevator, she asked quietly, "Could I speak with you privately for a moment, Mr. Hale?" Noah nodded to Miguel, who continued to the elevator with a knowing glance. When they were alone, Vivian's professional facade slipped slightly. "I want you to know that I've learned from my mistakes at Aurora," she said, her voice lower. "Working at Meridian has been educational. I see now what you were trying to accomplish with your security recommendations." Noah studied her, searching for authenticity beneath the careful words. "I'm glad to hear that. Safety should never be compromised for profit margins." "No, it shouldn't." Something in her tone suggested deeper meaning. "Sometimes we don't recognize the vulnerabilities in our systems until someone points them out directly." Before Noah could respond, Reynolds appeared from a side corridor. "Miss Vale, the CEO, would like to speak with you before your next meeting." Vivian's mask of professional detachment returned immediately. "Of course, Mr. Hale, thank you for your time today. My assistant will contact you about the development facility tour." In the elevator descending to the lobby, Miguel waited until they were between floors to speak. "She was trying to tell you something." "I think so too," Noah agreed. "But whether she's warning us or manipulating us remains unclear." Outside, as they walked toward the car, Noah's phone chimed with a text message from an unknown number. Not all vulnerabilities are accidental. Cafeteria West Park Building, 1 p.m. tomorrow. Come alone. V. Noah showed the message to Miguel, who whistled softly. Either she's helping us or it's a trap. Or both, Noah replied, thinking of the complexity behind Vivian's careful words. I'll inform Judge Campbell and proceed with caution. That evening, Noah sat with Lily at the kitchen table, helping with her science homework while considering the day's developments. Vivian's cryptic message suggested she might be willing to provide information about Meridian's security vulnerabilities, possibly positioning herself as a whistleblower rather than a participant in corporate malfeasance. Daddy, you're not listening, Lily complained, tapping her pencil against her notebook. I asked about potential and kinetic energy. Sorry, Lilypad. Noah refocused on his daughter, pushing aside thoughts of backdoor access codes in corporate espionage. Potential energy is stored energy, like when you lift something up against gravity. Kinetic energy is the energy of movement. Lily nodded, writing the definitions in her notebook. Like when you lifted the mop to stop those bad men. That was potential energy. And when you used it, that was kinetic energy. Noah smiled at her practical application of scientific principles. Exactly right. Very good example. Miss Patterson says we should always connect science to real life, Lily explained seriously. It makes it easier to remember. After completing her homework, Lily disappeared into her room to work on what she called her secret project, something she'd been developing for the past week with mysterious focus. Noah used the time to update Judge Campbell on the Meridian situation, including Vivian's text message. Proceed with the meeting, the judge instructed over the secure line, but wear a recording device. If she's providing evidence of corporate malfeasance, we need it properly documented for potential prosecution. And if it's a trap, Noah asked, the location is public. We'll have agents nearby. Your primary objective is gathering information, not confrontation. Noah agreed, though he remained uneasy about Vivian's true intentions. Their history at Aurora Tower made any interaction complicated. Her dismissive treatment of maintenance staff, her rejection of his security recommendations, and the consequences that had nearly resulted in her abduction. Later, as he checked on Lily before bed, he found her assembling what appeared to be a miniature security system for her dollhouse, complete with tiny cameras fashioned from beads and wire. What are you building, Lilypad? Protection, she answered, simply connecting small LEDs to a battery pack. So the dolls can see if bad people are coming. Noah sat on the edge of her bed, watching her work with the focused determination she brought to all mechanical projects. That's very thoughtful. What gave you this idea, your work? Lily adjusted a tiny wire carefully. You protect people by fixing things that are broken before bad stuff happens. I want to do that too. The simple explanation encapsulated everything Noah had tried to accomplish over the past year. Identifying vulnerabilities before they could be exploited, implementing preventative measures rather than responding to crises. Hearing his mission reflected back through his daughter's understanding brought unexpected clarity to the Meridian investigation. If Vivian was indeed trying to expose deliberate security vulnerabilities, perhaps her motivation was similar. Attempting to prevent harm before it occurred, possibly as atonement for her previous negligence at Aurora Tower. The next day, Noah arrived at the West Park Building cafeteria precisely at 1 p.m. The public space was busy with lunchtime crowds, providing both witness protection and conversational privacy within the ambient noise. He selected a table with clear sight lines to all exits, noting the two federal agents seated discreetly at opposite ends of the large room. Vivian arrived 5 minutes late, her business attire and professional demeanor drawing little attention as she navigated between tables. She sat across from Noah without preamble. Thank you for coming. Her voice was low, controlled. I wasn't sure you would trust me enough to meet. Trust requires verification, Noah replied evenly. Why the secrecy? If Meridian's systems have legitimate maintenance functions, why not discuss them openly? Vivian glanced around before sliding a small data drive across the table. Because they're not legitimate. The backdoor access isn't for maintenance. It's for surveillance and data collection without client knowledge. Noah pocketed the drive without examining it. And your role in this? I was hired specifically because of my Aurora experience. A bitter smile crossed Vivian's face. They wanted someone who understood how to implement security systems, that appeared comprehensive while containing deliberate vulnerabilities. My failure made me valuable to them. So you created these backdoors deliberately? Noah kept his expression neutral, despite his growing concern. No. Vivian leaned forward slightly. I discovered them during my system review. When I raised concerns with the CEO, I was told they were essential business advantages and to incorporate them into client materials as standard features. Her voice hardened. Sound familiar? And another executive prioritizing profit over safety. And now you're what? A whistleblower seeking redemption. Noah couldn't keep the skepticism from his voice. Vivian met his gaze directly. I'm someone who learned too late what happens when safety is compromised. The drive contains evidence of intentional vulnerability implementation in government facilities, research laboratories, and corporate headquarters across the country, including Aurora Tower's new system. The implications were staggering: widespread security compromises, potentially affecting national infrastructure and corporate security nationwide. Why bring this to me instead of law enforcement? Because you understand both sides, the technical vulnerabilities and the human factors that allow them to be exploited. Vivian's composure slipped momentarily. And because I owe you for what happened at Aurora, this is my attempt to balance that debt. Noah studied her, looking for deception, but finding what appeared to be genuine regret. If this information checks out, there will be significant consequences for Meridian, including for you as an employee. I know. Vivian stood to leave. I've arranged a tour of the development facility for tomorrow morning. The evidence on that drive will make more sense after you see their operations. She paused, then added quietly, for what it's worth, I truly am sorry for how I treated you and the maintenance staff at Aurora. Some lessons come at a higher price than others. As she walked away, Noah remained seated, the data drive heavy in his pocket. Whether Vivian's assistance stemmed from genuine remorse or calculated self-preservation remained unclear, but the information she provided could protect countless buildings from deliberate security exploitation. The Foundation's mission had always been about preventing harm before it occurred, identifying vulnerabilities before they could be exploited. If Meridian Technologies was intentionally creating those vulnerabilities for profit or surveillance, exposing that practice aligned perfectly with the work Noah had dedicated himself to since the Aurora Tower incident. He touched the blue bracelet on his wrist, thinking of Lily's dollhouse security system, protection implemented by a child who understood intuitively that keeping people safe required anticipating threats before they materialize. Sometimes the most profound wisdom came from the simplest sources. As Noah left the cafeteria to deliver the drive to Judge Campbell, he felt the separate threads of his life weaving together into a coherent purpose. The skills he developed as a maintenance worker, the security expertise from his Port Authority, training his experience as a federal monitor, and his role as a single father navigating life after loss, all contributed to a unique perspective that allowed him to see connections others missed. The invisible had become visible, and in that visibility lay the power to protect others who remained in the shadows. Maintenance workers, security guards, and all those whose essential contributions went unrecognized until something went wrong. Whatever the Meridian investigation revealed, Noah would approach it with the same methodical care he once brought to mopping Aurora Tower's floors. Attention to detail, practical problem solving, and unwavering commitment to doing the job right. Because ultimately, whether wielding a mop or running a foundation, the core purpose remained the same: cleaning up messes before they caused harm and protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. Some nights cleaning up meant more than just mopping floors, and some days true heroism meant preventing crises rather than responding to them, working quietly behind the scenes to ensure that systems functioned as they should, keeping everyone safe without recognition or acclaim. Noah checked his watch, just enough time to review the evidence with Judge Campbell before picking up Lily from school. Tomorrow would bring new challenges with the Meridian facility tour, but tonight would be spent helping with homework, listening to piano practice, and discussing dollhouse security systems with the person who mattered most. The blue bracelet caught the afternoon light as Noah walked toward the federal courthouse. From breathe to hero, the words had changed, but the purpose remained constant. Count to 4. Stay calm, fix what's broken. Some heroes hide in plain sight, and some are finally seen for exactly who they are.